Hello world, my name is Lydia. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. Tonight we're going to be talking about the patch notes for OB45. As you know, there's been a lot of changes coming to Paladins lately. Our last patch, OB44, was the beginning of Season 1. If you missed that patch or those patch notes, you can see my review of that patch up here. And now we have OB45, which brings with it a new champion, some new skins, a couple of balance changes. There's nothing too crazy or big in it other than a new champion, but as Hi-Rez has said in the past, they're planning on releasing a lot of new champions this year. Probably every patch for the remainder of the year is more than likely going to have a new champion added to it. Alright, so let's jump into the patch notes for OB45. Like I said, there's a new champion, Inara, the Stone Warden. She is our first female frontliner, which are two things that the community has been begging for lately. Not only a new frontliner, but also a female frontliner. We got Torvald as a new frontliner a couple of patches ago, and he's been a pretty solid frontliner addition, but it's definitely been time to add a new one, and it's great to see that they've added this female presence. So her left mouse button is Stone Spear. She fires a burst of 3 projectiles, dealing 225 damage over 0.4 seconds every 1 second. So this is some pretty basic damage. As a frontliner, she doesn't necessarily need to do too much damage. Pretty much most of her job is going to be just to absorb damage from the enemy team. So doing 225 damage per these projectiles, that's pretty basic. Her right mouse button is Earthen Guard. It enters a defensive state that lasts 5 seconds where you and your deployables take 30% reduced damage. You'll kind of get into the deployables with her Q, which is Impasse. Now what this does is it deploys a wall that grows out of the ground and lasts 5 seconds. Now this thing is huge. It's bigger than you think. Inara is actually a very physically large champion herself. She's very tall. When I say large, I mean she's very, very tall. I believe in the patch preview show, they said that she's basically 2 Maves stacked on top of each other. So her deploying this wall, the wall that she deploys, is very, very tall as well. Her E, which is her ultimate ability, is Seismic Crash. Throw your spear passing through shields and stunning any enemies within 40 units of its impact for 2 seconds. I also believe, if I heard correctly in the patch show, that there essentially isn't any way to defend against her ultimate ability other than just being extremely, extremely mobile, which is one of her downfalls. Inara's downfalls is that she basically has no mobility. So when you pick your items, you're going to have a really hard time trying to decide if you want to go with Nimble or if you want to go to something like Chronos or maybe even Morale Boost. That's going to be a really difficult choice for you because, as I said, she really has no mobility. Her F is Warder's Field. It places a stone obelisk that pulses, which slows enemies for 60% and deals 150 damage per second. So if you think about using her Q and her F as a combination, deploying that wall and then placing your obelisk that pulses and it slows by 60% and it deals 150 damage per second, that would be a great combination. Alright, I'm not really going to go into too many details of her cards. We can look at her legendary cards real quick. Mother's Grace is her default, so you will automatically get Mother's Grace when you buy Inara. Earthen Guard gains 20% increased damage reduction. Okay, that's not bad. Now, these other two you will have to buy with Essence. Treacherous Ground, her Warder's Field now cripples. That's interesting. And Tremors, it reduces the cooldown of Impasse by 7 seconds. Wow. Usually that will mean that the base cooldown is pretty heavy, maybe 14, 15, maybe even 20 seconds. So that is a pretty hefty cooldown reduction. All right, I'm not really going to go over any of her other cards. You're more than welcome to look into them. When it comes to customizations, you've got Inara's base skins. We also have 2 new skins coming for Tyra and Androxus. If you've watched some of my previous patch videos, or if you've ever talked to me about Paladins at all, one of my biggest beefs with the game is that it has no diversity when it comes to skins. Our best options for skins right now are buying skins that change, one color aspect of the champion, like, for example, Kinessa's tape, or changing the color of Maeve's hair rubber band. Like, that's all there is. Why would I want to spend money on something as minuscule as that? But I will give it to Hi-Rez. These past 3 or 4 patches, they've come out with these amazing skins that are just so cool and that you just have to have. And one of those is definitely Tyra. The Baroness Tyra looks super badass. She's got this super cool outfit in, black and red. And instead of having her fur jacket, she has a cape. She looks so badass. The Androxus Exalted skin is nothing like you've ever seen before and nothing like you would expect for Androxus. One thing that I can't believe Hi-Rez dropped the ball on is the fact that they have a Baroness Tyra skin, and they missed the opportunity to have it bear, Bear-Ness Tyra. I mean, come on, like, that is totally a given. I don't understand how they could mess that up. Regardless of that, I'm really glad that Hi-Rez is adding these diverse skins. I really hope they keep it up. All right, when it comes to map, they are adding some new maps to the test queue rotation. They usually do this pretty much every patch to keep it rotating and keep it going. All right, so let's take a look at some of the balance changes. Barracks card changes. They changed some of the descriptions on it to make it a little more clear. Nothing too big of a deal with that. Bomb King got a couple of bug fixes. Buck's Bounce House now increases the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 2 seconds. That's pretty decent. I mean, 2 seconds, if you think about it, is actually longer than you would expect, but I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference. That's more kind of a quality of life thing. A couple of Drogo's abilities got minor bug fixes. Eevee's Ice Block now grants immunity to all debuffs. I actually didn't realize that this wasn't something that was applied in the past, so they've added the immunity to that. Grok's Shock Pulse will now only slow each target once per cast, so it can't really be stacked or anything. That's not, I wouldn't necessarily call that a nerf or anything. I hate to say it again, but it's just another quality of life change. Now, probably the biggest major changes are coming for Maeve. Her 9 lives no longer heals by default. When Maeve was released, 9 lives healed her for a little bit, nothing too much. And now I believe she has, if I'm correct, I think she has a legendary card that now adds that, so that makes that card even more important. The damage for Pounce got reduced from 600 to 500. The range also got reduced from 70 to 50. I would absolutely consider that a nerf. And I'll kind of explain that as I go to the next one. Prowl reduces the movement speed from 80 to 65%, and it increased the cooldown from 9 all the way to 12 seconds. Wow. So the reason for that is Maeve was so strong when she was released, and her movement speed is just so crazy, especially using Prowl and Pounce as like a combination there. It was just so easy for people to do the ultimate flank of doing nothing but kind of sneak around and hide in places and just unleash just this massive amount of damage. So she was really hard to play against, and there really isn't a super strong counter for her. I mean, if you can play a really good Eevee, or if you can get a good hook on her from Makoa, like, sure, you can, whittle her down because her health pool is really small, but because of her movement speed and because of how much damage that Pounce and Prowl does together as that combination, she was just really strong, in my opinion. So I think this is a nerf, and while I kind of exaggerate how big of a nerf it is, it's really just another quality of life change. It makes sense for them to reduce them. Artful Dodger, 9 lives now also heals for 500 in addition to cleansing. So that kind of goes back to 9 lives no longer healing her. By default, you'll have to use Artful Dodger with it. Moving on to Pip, the projectile size of Healing Potion was reduced by 50% to allow it to travel through spaces easier. If you remember from the last patch from OB44, you can also now reignite his Healing Potion mid-air to heal somebody that's in the air. So that could have something to do with it as well. Torvald's shield health is getting reduced from 6,000 to 5,000. That sounds like a pretty hefty nerf, but when you consider it a 5,000 shield onto Torvald, that's still something you have to burn down. Tyra got a bug fix for her firebomb. The dot that was placed on you if you stood in the fire, it wasn't carried over while you stood in it and when you left it, so they fixed that bug with it. And lifesteal from First Blood was increased from 20 to 30%. Not really that big of a difference. And last but not least, Lifelike On Ying now reduces healing of illusions. That's just another quality of life. I don't really think it's that much of a difference either. Her illusions will still heal basically the same way they have before. It just reduces the amount. A lot of these changes are very general. Nothing is really that big of a deal. If you want to make a big stink about it, Maeve got the most changes, but like I said, it's just going to change minorly how people play Maeve. None of these are that big of a difference. I'm really excited to play Inara. Honestly, I haven't played Frontliners in a really long time. I've been messing around with Makoa a little bit, and every now and then I'll pull out a Ruckus, but there haven't been really any frontliners that I look at and say, oh my god, I have to play them. Like, they're so fun to play. So I'm really looking forward to Inara. She looks awesome. All right, that's going to be it for the patch notes for OB45. This will be on the PTS today, which is Friday night. I'm sure it will be released to the live server sometime next week. That's usually how it goes. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and comment down below. What do you think about these changes? Please tell me what you think about Inara. I'm not necessarily a frontline player. I'm usually kind of a flanker or a damage dealer, so I'm not really sure how she's going to change up the frontline meta. I know a lot of people like to take 2 tanks when they're getting a composition ready for a match, so I'm not sure how she's going to impact that. Maybe the meta could change so that she would be a really strong solo tanker, and you would be able to get another flanker, another damage dealer, or even try to go with a double healing composition. Let me know what you guys think about it and how you think it's going to change the game for you. Thank you guys for clicking on this video today. I hope you enjoyed this review for OB45. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, comment, sub down below, and we'll see you next time.